WNST. About 20,000 of us, by my count, went over to Wembley to see some football and came home not digging it, quite frankly. Another guy that wasn't digging it because he flew a long way to call the game for Westwood One, and it's no fun calling a 44-0 game in the fourth quarter. He is Ross Tucker NFL out on Twitter, as well as at NBCSN, at SiriusXM, Sports on Earth, and everywhere football is served. Correct, Ross?
Yeah, pretty much, man. I'm trying to avoid a real job like you have done for all these years.
I'm 26 years in, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I tell you what, this notion of bad football and all the way over to London for this, I don't know that anybody in the Ravens organization has a real answer for what that was, because that was the turd. That was the all-time turd for the Ravens organization.
Yeah, that was surprising. I mean, I did not expect that at all, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's their first time over there, and, Jacksonville's gone for the 5th year in a row, and, they lost their first 2 times they went over to London, but now Jacksonville's won 3 in a row. We know those things, but, man, it's hard to think any of that stuff equals up to 261 to 15 total yards at halftime. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to, no matter what you say about it, it's hard for any of that to come out and end up being that much of a one-sided affair. I was sitting there during the game trying to figure out if I could remember a game that was more one-sided that I had been at or played in, and maybe with the score there might have been, but not the way it went down, man. Not at all.
Well, it looked like the Ravens wanted to get on the bus and get on the plane and come home pretty early into the second half, and then Malik came on. I don't know what to discern from the tape, but, Ross, you played this game at a high level for a number of years on an offensive line, and, I tweeted out when it was 20-0, I'm like, well, they got on a plane, they flew over here, it's a 5-hour time difference. This was going to be a tough game in that way anyway, and they're getting manhandled on the offensive and defensive lines, and when you have a $10 million guard like Marshall Yanda, who's at least headed to the Hall of Very Good at this point, plus you take on Brandon Williams and the $12 million they gave him, and you eliminate those guys, you now understand why they spend that kind of money on interior linemen.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's their best O-lineman, their best D-lineman by a lot, I would say, and it was their first game without both guys, and they are very, very good. We know that. But they're still just one guy, Nestor. You know what I mean? And they got worked up and down the O-line and D-line, both sides of the ball. And what's crazy about it is that's usually what I think of when I kind of think of Raven football.
Sure.
I think of winning the battle of the trenches, and maybe they've just had so much attrition, especially on the offensive line, that they're just no longer capable of winning those battles.
Well, and in the case of the Ravens picking themselves up, dusting themselves off, they now have a Steelers team that had all sorts of drama with the Villanueva, Ben Roethlisberger situation and the knees, and we'll get to all that in a couple of minutes. But from a sheer football perspective, these are 2 teams that got kicked around last week. And one thing I know, Ross, Cincinnati and Cleveland aren't going to win this division. The winner of this game this week, it's not a Super Bowl, but it feels like a playoff game in September, kind of strangely enough.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see how they both react. That's the thing about the Ravens loss, Nestor, is it only counts as one. No matter how bad it is, no matter how annoyed the Ravens fans are that went over there, or you and I for being a part of it, as well as members of the media, it only counts for one loss. I remember, Marty Schottenheimer telling us that, really my rookie year. And so we'll see. The Steelers lose to the Bears. That counts. I don't care if it's an overtime or not. That counts exactly the way the loss did for the Ravens against the Jags. Seems like the Steelers lose at least 1 or 2 of those games every year, that there's just no way they should lose, but they do. And it really evened things up for both of them heading into this game on Sunday. And whoever wins this one, like you said, will be in the driver's seat. The difference in my mind is that the Ravens, there is some explanation for why they've struggled offensively and for why they are where they are. The Steelers, though, they don't really have any injuries to speak of. They've been healthy. They have these unbelievable skill position players, but they've been really, really sluggish offensively. I mean, the only guy, for the most part, that has really come through for them on a consistent basis is Antonio Brown. I mean, this is not what we expected from the Steelers' offense so far this year at all.
Well, the Le'Veon Bell aging part and the Roethlisberger, and this is true, and I've heard this from a lot of people, and you played the game at a high level. The amount of time that offenses are working together and the fear of putting a quarterback into a game in a preseason game. These preseason games, I mean, it's almost like there is no August for a lot of guys, that they get their preseason in week one, and they're still sort of working it out. A lot of the veteran players, I believe, that's where they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I hear people say that, but it's 3 games in now. I mean, I can almost see that for a game, and maybe if you look league-wide, the scoring was way up in week 3 from what it was weeks 1 and 2. But then, the Steelers still only scored 17 points against the Bears, and they were in week 3 at this point. We'll see. I mean, what we know is Antonio Brown will always find a way to get his numbers for the most part. It's unbelievable. And other than that, you would just think that the Steelers' O-line, they've been healthy. You would just think that they'd be clicking more offensively than this. And to your point, I hear coaches complaining about the lack of practice time, but then they don't put the guys in at all for the preseason game. So it's like, well, wait a minute, you don't really get the right to complain about the lack of practice time if you're not going to put the guys in at all in the preseason game.
Well, and especially when the fans are paying for it, right? Literally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not the point to me. I'm sure that's the point for the fans. My point is, you don't get to complain about the lack of opportunities if you're not going to put the guys out there and have them participate in those practice games. Then why do you get to complain about the lack of practice opportunities?
Ross Tucker, NFL is the way to follow him. Hundreds of thousands do. He's on Sirius XM as well as at NBCSN and called the game over in London for Westwood One. For the Ravens, are you real concerned? Where, obviously that was a way different look than what we saw against Cincinnati or Cleveland, but I think we're starting to believe that Cincinnati and Cleveland may, both have trouble counting the 3 by the end of the year for wins, right?
Yeah, exactly. Both these teams really had pretty easy schedules, the Ravens and the Steelers, and I thought going into week 3, I thought they'd both be 3-0 coming into this game. But that's not how it went down. They both lost, so at least they're even Steven in that regard. I just, I wonder, Nestor, also, I know you're close to the team, but I wonder, I'm a guy that's had a back surgery when I played in Buffalo, and, Joe Flacco never exactly looks, fleet of foot, but he looks even slower at times with everything that he does. And then even if we're talking about the offense of it, what about the defense? I mean, they got absolutely torched by Blake Bortles and Mercedes Lewis of all people. I mean, that's got to be concerning.
Well, moving forward, Pittsburgh and Oakland the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to learn a lot. I mean, sort of the season works in the balance here that they have to go out to Oakland, they have to go out to Green Bay, they have to go out to Nashville. But first up, you got to take care of business against the Steelers in division here. If you fall to 2-2 and they go to 3-1 and move on, and you got to go to Oakland and play, that's where the Ravens, and many, many seasons, even years when they've gotten in as a wild card, the Ravens have never been the team that's ahead of everyone over 22 years. They're always giving chase. They're always behind Cincinnati. They're always behind the Steelers, and always that sort of that 1 game back, 2 games back all the time. This is the game that would be the differentiator for them this year.
Yeah, you're right, and it would be. I mean, it's almost like these games count twice, right?
Sure,
because it's head to head and the tiebreakers. I think we already know the significance of when you're playing the Steelers, but I think it even means more given the fact that they're already tied in the division and that Cincinnati and Cleveland are, for all intents and purposes, already out of it.
Real quick before we talk about ball cannon, because I know you represent them as well, the knee. Any thoughts at all on the knee? I don't think anyone can be shocked that men of your ilk, men of intellect, passion, they're not going to take to being called SOBs. I mean, you played around these guys, you're with these guys, a lot of alpha male. I sort of knew when I was over in London and saw some of these inflammatory comments that Sunday was going to be a strange day because I knew knees were going to happen just because.
Yeah, it's, I don't particularly care for the situation. I'm not taking a side one way or the other. It just, to me, I'm trying to figure out who the winners are. You know what I mean? Like, who's winning out of this? Who's coming out of this as a positive? I guess the winner out of the weekend, maybe Nestor, was Colin Kaepernick, because now so many people are doing it, and maybe he was the leader of a movement. I don't really know. I thought what the Cowboys did Monday night by kneeling and making their point, but then standing for the anthem, I thought that was significant. I mean, I thought that was maybe the best way to go about it, because I was reading like Villanueva when he was talking about it. When word spread, when Mike Tomlin told CBS that the Steelers weren't coming out, Villanueva said he was getting texts from soldiers, from wounded warriors saying, "You got to go out there. You got to go out there, man. Like, you got to." And so that speaks to me, Nestor. Like when actual soldiers and wounded warriors are texting one of their own that they went over and fought with and saying, "Hey, you represent us. You got to go out there and you got to stand and put your hand on your heart so people see that." Wow, that speaks volumes to me.
Well, it's a sticky time, right? And we have rarely seen everyone from owners and management and players and the Players Association sort of in lockstep on an issue. We should all be on lockstep on free speech, I think, Ross.
I think everybody is lockstep in free speech. I think, well, maybe other than the president, but I think
which is an irony unto itself now, isn't it? Right?
Right, but I think the question though is, when and where is the right place to exercise that free speech? I think that, and really that's where I go back to my original comment. There are no winners, I don't think, in this. I just think because there are people that feel really strongly one way or the other, and so you're not really going to be swaying people's opinion on it.
I just heard what you said about when and where to utilize free speech. I think that's the whole point of why these guys went over and died on a hill for us and left blood on other places, was so that free speech can be exercised anytime you feel like it, whenever you want, wherever you want. That if you're being told when and where you're allowed to have free speech, yes in the U.S., no in Cuba, these are large arguments, but and son of an immigrant and all of that stuff. Many family members who've served, including my father-in-law in Vietnam. So we all have a touch point on this, but I tell you one thing, the one thing that I think was the winner out of the knee, there is a conversation right now. You might not like the results or the person you're having it with or what you're hearing on the other side, but boy, we are all talking about it now, aren't we?
That is 1,000% correct, and I think that's a real positive because I know I've had a lot of good conversations with people about it.
And we just had one. Tell me about Ball Cannon now. I know they are the world's first recreational football launcher. You always promote this because I know you're involved with the company there, but this is for people that want to go catch some footballs, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's seen the jug machines that, Macklin and Boyle and all these guys, Mike Wallace, catch passes off of. This is one that you can actually have at your house. It's a heck of a lot less expensive. And really, it's been amazing how much it's already taken off, Nestor. I mean, you see, I think there's 4 or 5 NFL teams that bought them. I know I follow the Ball Cannon on social media, Twitter and Instagram, because the guy that invented it's from my hometown. And I see it, they have it at the Jets games before the game. It's a fan fest, and, there's like nobody in line for the bouncy house. They're all in line for the Ball Cannon because they love catching passes off this thing. It really gives every kid a chance to be, their own Odell Beckham Jr. and make those catches. Not only that, you think about it, there aren't very many things that get kids outside anymore. There aren't very many things that actually have them having fun and running around. And the ball cannon, I bought one for my nephew that lives down there in Maryland, and he absolutely loves it. So it's been really cool. I would encourage everybody, just check out the video at ballcannon.com.
Ball Cannon, that's BALLCANNON, ballcannon, just like it sounds, .com. Ross, always a pleasure, man. I enjoy the work. I know you were jet-lagged and stuck over in London and getting back and all that stuff, but now that we got you back over here, we're going to try to take care of business against the Steelers this week. It'll be a lot more fun talking to you in December about potential playoff football around here than the opposite.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. I'll see you in a few weeks. I'll be there for the Bears game on the 15th.
The Bears. Hey, it's my birthday weekend. We'll have cake, okay?
Sounds good to me, man. Take care.
You got it. Ross Tucker, one of our favorites. He is Ross Tucker NFL out on Twitter. Former NFL player with a bunch of teams, including the Redskins, the Bills, amongst others, at NBCSN, at SiriusXM, and, of course, doing the games for Westwood One. He did the international radio call of the game over there in London. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. It makes it very, very easy, even over in London. Morning newspaper comes to you at 7 a.m. That's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And if there's any more breaking news, and I don't need any more injuries, I don't need any more bad news like the Brent Urban injury or the Marshall Yonder injury. Hopefully some good news on getting Brandon Williams back out onto the field. You'll get it all first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.